this video we are going to talk about Express.js. So I have this VS Code editor and I have no files here, so I'm going to write everything from scratch. Alright, so let's begin. So the first thing which we need to do is we need to create one node package, that is node application. So for that, like, I will be using npm init. I'm using yes, so that I don't need to answer all the questions. Here, a couple of things I need to do is, like, I will need to change scripts. So I am using start node.mon, and I'm going to create one folder, and in that folder I will just name, I'll keep one file, that is index.js, and then I want to make this project as ES6 module. So I'm writing type module. Alright, now we have this thing set up, so I just need to create one folder here that is called src, so that when we run this command it will be able to find index file here. So inside the source folder I'm going to create one index.js. Here we are going to keep all the necessary coding. Fine. Now before we start or run this command, what we are going to do is, like, we are going to install node.mon, we are going to install Express, and also we are going to install Express session. So let's do that. Alright, so we have Express session and node.mon ready. Now the first thing which we need to do here in index file is create an Express application. For that, like, I will need to import Express from Express, and I will need to create one application of Express. So I'm just writing here app equal to Express, and since we have this app object, I can now create a listener, so that it will start listening to a particular port, and in callback we can just put one log so that we can know, like, whether the server is running or not. So I'm just going to write server is running on port 4000. Alright, although in real application, like, we can keep these ports in environment variable, so that's a separate thing, so I'm just keeping it hard coded right now. Alright, before we test this thing, first I would like to create one route here. So I'm going to use create a route here, and that will be on slash. In callback we can write request response, and then what we are going to do is, like, we are going to respond back to the client, that is welcome to expression tutorial. Alright, now here what we can do is, like, since everything is done, like, we can just try it out and see, like, if our server is running or not. Then we can start learning about Express session. Okay, so I'm seeing here no errors. That means our server is running fine, and it is saying, like, server is running on port 4000. In my browser I can just type localhost 4000. Now I can see the response that I sent from here, that was welcome to Express session tutorial, right? Alright, couple of things I need to do here is, like, I will be just opening inspect, and in inspect I'm going in cookie, and I will clear all the existing cookies of this URL that might be from previous application or something. So I've cleared all of them. If I refresh, I'm not going to get any cookie right now. All right, now we are going to set up Express session here. So how we are going to set up Express session? So before we write anything for Express session, we need to import. Okay, so you can fetch Express session from the Express session library itself, and after we have initialized Express app, I'm going to configure one middleware. And how we configure middleware? With the help of app.use. All right, so here in app.use, what we can do is we can write Express session, and it will be a function, and we can pass one object, and this object will accept couple of important properties. There are some mandatory things, and those are important. I will be explaining those things which are important and mandatory. Rest of the things you can always read about it from documentation. All right, the first thing which is important is secret. And what is secret? To generate a session ID, what it is going to do is it will require one secret here. So what I'm going to do here is I will be writing install skill. Now, how Express session is different from cookie session? So in cookie session, you saw it stores all the data which we are saving in session in server, that will be stored everything on browser. But in in Express session, what is happening is it will store the data in memory in store on server, but it is going to create one session ID, and that session ID will be stored in cookie inside browser. So basically we can configure external stores as well. With external stores, we can configure with the other databases like MongoDB and SQL databases, any other databases. If you don't want to keep your sessions in memory, then you can just configure external stores. That we can cover it in separate discussion. Right now, understand it by default, Express session will be using in-memory database, in-memory variables. So here it will be generating one session, and that session data will be stored in memory, and along with that, there will be one session ID that will be passed to the client, and that session ID will be stored in browser. Okay, that's all about theory, and just want to show you what we can do with it. So there's one more property that is called reshape. Alright, so I'm just keeping it false. There's so many things race conditions and memory leakage. We just don't want to don't want to use too much memory. So every time we change in the session, I just don't want to recreate the session storage for that, so restore it. So just want to generate it once. And also there's one more thing, save uninitialized. So when there's no session, why we would be creating a session store there's no need to create a session store if there's no data we are saving it. So save uninitialized should be false here as well. And this will save a couple of problems like race condition, memory, too much usage of memory and all in server. And there's one more thing we can do here is cookie. So cookie, inside cookie, this is more associated with the browser settings. So here in cookie we can keep secure. So by default, I can keep it true, but right now since we are doing testing on local host, so it will not work. So here I'm just keeping it false, and HTTP only by default this will be true, so let it be true. The reason why I'm writing it just because I will be showing you what will happen if in case we use false here. Also path, by default the path will be this thing. So for now, just let me just comment it out, both these three things. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm just going to go in my browser and refresh it again to see whether something is happening or not. So as you see, there's no session ID stored here in cookie. I'm using Firefox, you can also use Chrome. And as I said, if we want to save uninitialized value, then we can make it true. If I change it to true, we will see whenever I access this URL, it will store one session ID here for me. And now the name of the session actually ID is connect.sid, and there's no reason I have not created any session variables or something like that, but still it is creating one session ID and creating one store for us. So there's no point like creating unnecessary memory in our server or in database. So let me just remove it from here and keep I'm going to change the value to false. All right, if I change this secure from false to true, what will happen is like it will not store any cookie. Okay, it is not creating any session ID for us. And even like if I just change it to true, let me just change it to true and see like whether it is creating session ID for us or not. It is not creating, since that will not work on local host. Since if when we are marking it secure true, then we need HTTPS. For now, just keep it false. All right. Okay, so what we are going to do here is like first thing is like in root route, what we can do is like we can add some value in session object, and let's say I'm just creating one object here and username, and that is okay, install skill, and this thing I'm just saving it inside session. Under session I'm creating one user variable and I'm storing it here. So what Express session will do is like it will create one memory for a session, and it will create this storage memory, and it will generate one session ID corresponding to that, and it will send that corresponding session ID along with the response, and the browser will catch it from response header, and it is going to set it in cookie. Okay, I hope that is clear. And now what we can do is like once since it is restarted, I'm going back in browser and I will refresh my page and see like the cookie is set here. If I click on it, I can see the details like it is what are the other settings here. So as you can see, like HTTP only is true, and the path is / and secure and so other things like host only, same site, you can definitely explore about it. Expires maxes session is something like when you close this browser, then this session will be expired. All right, so one thing I'm just wanted to show you is like HTTP only. Let's say if we change this HTTP only to false, then what will happen? For now, like if I try to access it using JavaScript, cookie, if I access cookie using JavaScript, it is giving me empty string. But if I change this to HTTP only false, now what will happen is like it becomes little bit less secure, and anyone can access using JavaScript then. So I think that is not recommended. Let me just show you whether it works or not. So as you can see, like we can access using JavaScript, we can access cookie using JavaScript. I don't think this is recommended, so I'll just make it true again. Regarding path, like if I uncomment and I'm changing it to some other path, so what will happen is like for this root route, it is not going to create any session object for us. So what will happen is like when we will try to access this route, it may throw error. Let me just check it. So now as you can see, the cannot set user of undefined, so it is not able to find this session for the root route. So I'm just going to create one more route here, and that is get. Here what I'm gonna do is like I'm gonna write set cookie, and I will do the same thing, request response, that's all. And in request response, what I can do is like one thing I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna send some text, set cookie, and before that, let's say since this is throwing error, right, I will just comment it out for a second, and I'll keep the same code here in set cookie. As you can see, like in path we have given like set cookie. So for this path, it will generate a session object, so there will be no error, and it will set this, I mean it will create session for on this path only. So before I just refresh this page, and what I'm going to do here is like I'm just going to clear all the sessions. And the first thing what I'm going to do here is like I will refresh the root path, and then I will just go back here and see like if something is here. No, there's nothing. Now if I try to access set cookie, what is going to happen is it will generate one session ID for us. All right, so I think that's all from this video. You might have understood how Express session works and how it is different from cookie session, where in cookie session everything you save in session actually gets stored on browser in cookie. And as you know, like there's a limitation in cookie size, so it's not a good practice. In Express session you are just storing the session ID, but you're keeping the data on server, or for production purposes you can use external store. So in Express session you can bind any store, and there are so many libraries available. So if you want me to make a tutorial on external saving, I mean sessions on external store, comment it out, I will do that for you. Till then, thank you for watching. Have a nice day.